Hey, it's Spoonie, and it's time for the November update on Kitten Space Agency, the spiritual successor to Kerbal Space Program. And let me tell you, this one is a biggie, like maybe the biggest one yet. But before we get into all that, be sure to hit that subscribe button so we can follow along with the development together, and be sure to check out my podcast called Chaos in the Lobby, where I chat with guests like Nate Simpson, the creative director of Kerbal Space Program 2, and Harvester, the creator of Kerbal Space Program. All right, that's it for my intro, so let's get into it. If this is your first time hearing about this game, Kitten Space Agency, as I said, is the spiritual successor to Kerbal Space Program, led by Dean Hall and a team at RocketWerkz that includes not only the original creator of Kerbal Space Program, Harvester, but several influential modders from the KSP community like Blackrak, Daishi, and some other seriously talented individuals. And if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I have put together a quick recap that should bring you up to speed and answer most of the basic questions that will help you follow along more easily with what's being discussed in this video. If this isn't your first time seeing one of my videos, don't worry, you don't have to watch the recap again. Like always, just skip ahead to the chapter titled New Updates. First, this game is meant to be the spiritual successor to Kerbal Space Program 2. It is being built from the ground up on a custom framework called Brutal, designed specifically for this game. Brutal gives the developers full control over just about everything and allows them to quickly experiment with new features and ideas, like shadows from moons on planets, which went from conception to proof of concept implementation in just 3 hours. Yes, there will be mod support. In fact, this game is being developed with mod support as a cornerstone, and everything in the game is essentially a mod itself, which can be altered. The game will have multiplayer, and the groundwork for this feature is being baked into the game so that it can be more easily added when the time comes. We don't know if it will launch with this feature, but we do know that they are planning for it. The game will have interstellar travel. The game will also be DRM free, meaning you will not have to have an internet connection to play the game. The game will also, at least ideally, be free to play. This is still a little bit up in the air, as the developers will obviously need to make money from the game. It may be through a pay-what-you-want system or other voluntary support. We will have to wait for further clarification down the road, but we do know that Dean Hall very much wants this game to be released for free. While we don't have a lot of information on system requirements just yet, the game seems to already be incredibly performant, with at least some of the work being tested on a 2080 Super at 1440p, often achieving an FPS in the hundreds. This is a good sign that you probably won't need a 5090 to play this game at the higher settings with a decent frame rate. This performance boost is in part thanks to a system of rendering called spherical billboards, which swaps out pre-rendered meshes as you approach an orbital body rather than rendering them in real time. You will be able to seamlessly switch from ship view to orbital view or to another ship around another body without the need for loading screens, thanks to the utilization of instantiable physics and the Brutal framework, which allows everything to play by its own set of rules rather than everything being tied together in a persistent scene. This also gives the modders a straightforward path to adding, editing, or completely remaking systems. And those are the key points, which I hope will answer a lot of the questions those who are new to the game might have. And now, on to the new updates. First, Lynx gave us a look at some of the terrain mesh changes that now give us enough detail near the craft to be able to tessellate it and represent fine surface detail. This means that things aren't all zoomed in and low poly when you land and look around or directly down at the ground under you. This also includes some height map fixes to colliders. Here we can see some before and after shots, and obviously this is a massive upgrade. Incredible work by Lynx here. Dean also gave us several more screenshots and some cinematic views of the Gemini craft, which is made from the newly implemented KSA parts. I am really excited to see these parts being implemented because it means we are that much closer to a full release. And more importantly, I think for everybody watching, a public release of the alpha, which I have been lucky enough to play and can say that it is visually stunning and a really fun experience already. The great news there is you won't be waiting that much longer. Like, literally maybe only a few more days. I'll get to more on that in just a moment, but while we're still on the topic of parts, we can see some really incredible textures now being added to parts thanks to Daishi, and I mean, just wow. Honestly, the art style and direction is exactly what I had personally hoped for, so I'm really glad to see that's what's being implemented. These already look great, but imagine how good these are going to look once it's in the build and benefiting from lighting and shadows. We also got a look at a shinier metallic skin for one of the parts, and then a look at something bigger, like some engines that can be both mounted and clustered on larger ship parts, as well as a first look at a stage decoupler. This is an interstage fairing that snaps onto the base of tanks and engine mounting plates that you can then adjust the size of. This can be used to streamline craft or to protect delicate instrument parts, or maybe even small payloads like landers and satellites. Next up, BlackRock showed us some of what he has been working on, adding atmospheric transmittance and ambience onto terrain. Here we can see some before and after shots, with the left side being before and the after on the right. What this does is soften the lighting and helps bring out existing details in the terrain surface and in the shadows. These shots were taken around Greenland in the game. Somehow BlackRock goes and once again makes things look even better. Honestly, the man's kind of a wizard, because remember, they aren't using a game engine that comes with shaders and pre-built tools. All of this is being done on their custom framework called Brutal. And while that gives the developers full control over what they do and don't implement, it also means that they have to build all of this, like from the ground up. This was all coded in. Brutal helps streamline that process, but there is a reason it was given the name that it was given. So then when we get to see something like this, BlackRock's update on swirling cloud formations on Jupiter before starting work on vertical formations, it really puts into perspective how impressive something like this is. Just look at this cheat sheet that Harvester showed for adding in a single shader. Next, Lynx gave us a look at some more textures with the addition of BlackRock's atmospheric transmittance, and we are already starting to see things take shape into what a final product might look like. We can see more of this on some screenshots of the moon and some updated regolith textures, some small procedural craters added in, with some detail on the lunar slopes to show the slumping that naturally occurs when material moves downhill. The moon already looked incredible, but it is now something even more stunning. Next up, we got our first teaser from Dean of an actual kitten in the game for the first time, which you might recognize from this video's thumbnail. And soon after, JPL Repo gave us this shot of a very nervous looking kitten trying out a jetpack for the first time in orbit outside Earth. These kittens look great, and I am 100% on board with the art direction of the kittens. But what about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below, especially those of you who were hesitant when they first saw the rough drafts of these kittens. How do you feel now that we are seeing something closer to the final product? Do you like it? Or do you still wish they'd have gone a different direction? We also got a 1-year update from Dean Hall, which covers the growth of several areas and how things have progressed technologically over the past year. This is posted on the Discord under Dev Updates for those that want to read it in its entirety, and you can find that linked in the description below. I will say that the work done by this entire team is simply mind-boggling. They have accomplished some very difficult things in a matter of months here. They should all feel extremely proud of what they have done. I have seen games take years and not accomplish what they have accomplished in just under 12 months. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for. We got some very direct information about when the game will be available to the public. This is of course a very alpha build, and not the finished product, but it will still be available to play very soon, like within a few days potentially. In fact, it was thought that it might be ready for release this past week, but Dean decided it was best to hold back and finish up some of the work on a few key areas. Dean goes on to say that, quote, "This release will also open up contributions to the project for the first time. The aim for this, hopefully, will be to secure the future for the project. We'd be able to establish if the project's mission would work, making the game completely free and API independent. It would also confirm whether the project can get more ambitious with its hiring of more people, and keep the existing staff paid more. Hint, not me, I mean our amazing staff. I think we already pay very well, but I would like to be able to ensure our staff are paid really well for their future. I think they're doing some of the best work I have seen." End quote. Some of the areas getting a little extra attention before the release are kitten EVAs in the game, investigations of crash on boot, especially with some AMD cards, and fixing a few input issues. Again, this information is available in its full unabridged form in the developer update section on the game's Discord linked in the description below. Oh, and by the way, it's also mentioned in those notes that Harvester is working on a new game, yet to be disclosed, that also runs on Brutal. He talks a little bit about this at the end of part 3 on my podcast, where he was generous enough to sit down for an interview. Nothing too specific was revealed, as he says it's simply too soon to start revealing anything at all, but you can still see that he is very excited about the project, and honestly, I can't wait to hear more about it. So over these next few days leading up to the imminent release of Kitten Space Agency, I encourage all of you to check out Harvester's latest game, which released last year, called Kit Hack. Oh, and by the way, all of the music in the background of this video is music from Kitten Space Agency. Thanks to Maddie, several of the planets now have their own soundtracks. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that we can follow along with the development of Kitten Space Agency together, and if you'd like to support me and my channel, you can do so through Patreon or by joining my channel here on YouTube, where you'll get members-only perks like early access to upcoming podcast episodes. Those episodes feature guests like Nate Simpson, Harvester, and my upcoming guest, Dean Hall. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.